All right, we're back this weekend. We got Song Yadong taking on Chris Gutierrez. This fight night was actually supposed to be in China. Peter Yan pulled out. He was supposed to fight Song Yadong, and yeah, they just ended up switching it to the Apex. And well, yeah, not a bad card again. Just like last week's, it was a pretty decent fight night card. Some good names. So I said this is like the appetizer for the UFC, Leon Edwards, Kobe Covington, man, that's a banger. That's going to be a great card. So, just going over last week. If you guys watched my seen my Instagram, I posted a bet before on Friday. Was Friday night? I posted a bet, and everyone who was messaging me, I'm like, this is the bet to take. Minus 120 odds. Arman Tsarukyan by finish. And you best believe it only took him 60 seconds. I was not even sweating a little. I was so confident in that pick. Man, I love picks like that, dude. That is just beautiful. First minute just destroyed him. So if I want to run back. So we took Arman Tsarukyan. He won by KO. We won money on that one. And then the rest of the main card, I'll just go over. So we, out of the Clay Guida's Joaquim Silva fight, we took Joaquim Silva. He won. Sean Brady, Kelvin Gastelum. Everyone's like, "Oh, Kelvin, yeah, Kelvin looked good." Don't get me wrong; he actually made the weight. Surprised me. He did actually look decent at the weight, but I knew Sean Brady was going to win that fight. Kelvin Gastelum's time's up, man. He in his last 8 fights, he's got 2 wins, 2 wins in his last 8 fights, so he's 2-6. And you want me to feel comfortable putting him on one of my bets or something? Absolutely not. Figueiredo first font. We took Figueiredo. He won. And then the Bobby Green, Jalen Turner fight. Jalen Turner destroyed Bobby Green. And yeah, I think we lost on that one. But he was a big underdog. He was over plus 200 going into that fight. So for the odds, it was still not a bad bet. But obviously he lost, so it was a bad bet. But a lot of people, they're really mad at the stoppage, and it was a horrible stoppage. But hey, you guys can't complain all the time and be like, hey, with the what was this? Pereira and Yuri Prohaska was early stoppage, right? And everyone's mad. Oh, it's too early. We want to see it go on a little, and then when they goes on a little, then they're like, hey, it was too late. It's like you got to find that perfect spot, but it is what it is. These guys are getting paid to do that. That's going to happen. There's a possibility you're going to get knocked out pretty badly. And that's what these guys are being paid for. That's why everyone's so mad that they're not being paid more money. These guys are super underpaid unless you're, Conor McGregor or one of those guys. So it is what it is. But man, that Arman Tsarukyan. So I think Arman Tsarukyan, he should fight Justin Gaethje. And I'll tell you right now, Arman Tsarukyan matched up against anyone, whether it's Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. I'll tell you right now, Arman Tsarukyan will be the favorite going into any of those matchups, other than Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev will be the only person who's a favorite against Arman Tsarukyan. Even if he fights Gamrot again, I guarantee you Arman Tsarukyan will be the favorite going into that, man. He is for real, that boy. And I tell you right now, he takes out Charles Oliveira. I think Arman wins. Justin Gaethje, Arman. I think Arman wins that too. But we'll see if they take the fight because it's gonna be hard to say no when he's top 5 now. Song Yadong, Chris Gutierrez. So yeah, like I said, Peter Yan pulled out. That's who he was supposed to initially be fighting, and I thought that was a much harder matchup for him. Coming off a big win over Ricky Simone, he was actually the underdog going into that. And we actually bet Yadong Song. I love Yadong Song. I've been betting him, since his early days in the UFC when he fought, Barad and Felipe Ranch. And, that he did have a loss to Corey Sandhagen, but man, no shame losing to Corey Sandhagen. There's not many people at 135 that you're going to see outstrike Corey Sandhagen. They might have to outgrapple him like Aljo, but man, his striking is so good. Even TJ Dillashaw was turned wrestler fighting Corey Sandhagen. So he's taking on Chris Gutierrez, and he's a big favorite over Chris Gutierrez. And Chris Gutierrez, he's got some, pretty decent wins. beat Andre Ewell, beat Frankie Edgar, probably his best win, that flying knee on Frankie Edgar. And he did lose to Pedro Munoz. That was not too impressive, but Pedro's the real deal. I go with the Kung Fu Kid. I'm going with Yadong Song. I think he's gonna just destroy Chris Gutierrez, possibly even finish him. But these Mexicans are tough, man. They got tough chins. All right, Anthony Smith taking this fight on short notice against Khalil Rountree. So if you guys don't know, Azamat Murzakanov was initially slated to fight Khalil Rountree. Khalil Rountree, hey man, his striking is very good. And actually, he was a slight underdog going in to the Azamat Murzakanov fight. Slight underdog. Now he's a big favorite fighting Anthony Smith. And he might, I have him winning this fight, but believe it or not, man, Anthony Smith, if he is able to take Khalil Rountree down, Khalil Rountree's ground game's not the greatest. It's not on that a level of an Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is a pretty high level black belt. And he's got some big wins. He's coming off a win over Ryan Spann. I know he lost to Johnny Walker and Ankalaev, but Ankalaev's like the top guy in that division. But he's got big wins, Devin Clark and Jimmy Crute. He's got some impressive wins, Anthony Smith. But, taking this fight on short notice against a guy like Khalil Rountree, who's in camp, training with all those guys in Thailand, Tiger Muay Thai, or I forgot what the other places he might train at, but man, those guys are good, bro. And he's got a four fight win streak, I believe, going into this fight. So the game plan's simple for Anthony. If he gets this fight to the ground, that's probably his best chance for victory, because Khalil Rountree, his striking is looking outstanding. I'm loving it with that Muay Thai style. He looks really good, man. His striking is it's top notch right now. So Anthony Smith, smart guy. He's going to go in there with the right game plan. Hopefully, he's able to take the fight to the ground. But I got Khalil on that one. Now, Suma Dargi taking on Alan Nascimento. Suma Dargi, man, the Tibetan Eagle, not the Russian Eagle, the Tibetan Eagle, is coming off a pretty vicious loss to Matt Schnell. And he was actually winning that fight, man. He hurt Matt Schnell multiple times. Matt Schnell looked like he was out on his feet and just paused him in his tracks a few times. But man, he came back and finished Suma Dargi with just a vicious triangle choke. Now, is Suma Dargi gonna come in there and take on just this crazy Brazilian Alan Nascimento? So Alan Nascimento, last 4 fights, he's got 1 loss, and that 1 loss was to Khabib's boy Tagir Ulanbekov, and it was a split decision loss 2 years ago. So, I think he's gonna completely dominate Suma Dargi. I think if you're, having split decision losses to guys like Tagir Ulanbekov, I think I gotta go with Alan Nascimento. But Tagir Ulanbekov did have a pretty horrible performance against Tim Elliott. That was not impressive at all. But I gotta go with the Brazilian Alan Nascimento. But Suma Darji is a gamer, man. He's got some knockout power for that division, because most 125ers do not carry knockout power. He is one of them. He does have some power, so don't be surprised if he's able to land a knockout. Nasrat Hakparast taking on Jamie Malarkey. Now this guy looks like Kelvin Gastelum Jr. He's like a smaller version of Kelvin Gastelum, but he's not Mexican. He's from Afghanistan, I believe, or fighting. I believe he fights out of Germany now, but I believe he's Afghan. So Nasrat Hakparast coming off not the most impressive win over Landon Quinones. Landon Quinones, who's the guy in the Ultimate Fighter, and even his last fight against John Makdessi, who's 40 something years old now, is not too impressive. Nasrat Hakparast, 2-2 in his last 4. Bobby Green messed him up. Dan Hooker dominated him. He's taking on Jamie Malarkey, which is definitely a step down in competition compared to those guys. He's also coming off a win over John Makdessi. I'm slightly leaning towards Nasrat Hakparast, but for the odds, Jamie Malarkey is actually not a bad bet at all. I could see Jamie Malarkey actually winning this fight. I would not be surprised if Jamie Malarkey grinds out the decision because Nasrat Hakparast just not has not been looking the same. Came into the UFC with a ton of hype and just has not lived up to it. So I'll take this fight to go over 1.5 because I see that fight going to decision. Now this is interesting. June Ong Park taking on Andre Muniz. Andre Muniz, submission machine. He came in. He blew up when he subbed Jacare, broke his arm, I believe. But Junong Park, man, this guy, he's been on a roll. I think in his last, I don't know, 8 fights, he's got only one loss, 7-1, I believe. Um, yeah, 7-1. Just double check that. 7-1 is his last 8. That only loss was to the RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez, and RoboCop's a real deal. That guy's kill or be killed type of guy. Had that lackluster performance against Eric Anders where he won a split decision. But after that performance against Eric Anders, he's been on a roll and even destroyed Albert Duraev. He was actually a big underdog, I believe, going into the Albert Duraev fight and shocked everyone because he choked out the Russian. But I do not believe he's going to be choking out Andre Muniz. Um, Andre Muniz coming to the UFC, broke Ronaldo Jacare's arm, armbarred Eric Anders, beat Uriah Hall, and not the. It was a bit of a boring fight. But then he fought Brendan Allen, and man, Brendan Allen's been looking outstanding lately. And Brendan Allen caught him in a rear naked choke, and then his last fight, he got beat by Paul Craig, the Bear Jew, and he's gonna really need this win. If you get 3 straight losses, that could be it for you. And I think Junon Park, he's probably going to be able to sprawl and brawl. He's a guy who's got a decent ground game himself. All he's got to do is just keep this fight standing, and Andre Muniz is going to be in a world of trouble because Andre Muniz does not have a great striking game. Now, but that being said, if Andre Muniz gets you down, it could be armbar city for Junong Park. So you never know. All right, Song Kanan, the assassin. He's coming off he lost to Ian Gary, where he, got knocked out by Ian Gary, knocked out by Max Griffin, and then his last fight he fought Rolando Bedoya, um, the guy from Peru who's coming off a couple straight losses, and yeah, it wasn't too impressive, and now he's taking on Kevin Air Jusset, the boy from France, and he's got a pretty good win streak. 4 wins in a row. I think I've seen his fight against Jack Della Maddalena back in the day, and Jack, pieced him up. But I gotta go with I'll go with Kevin Jusser on this one, or Jusset, however you pronounce it. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but I go with the Frenchman on this one. I think he's probably gonna get it done. Lots of Asian fighters, as expected. Hansung Park undefeated, taking on Shannon Ross. That's an easy gimme fight for Park. So easy win for Park there, as the odds are showing -550. Uh, so Steve Garcia Costa. This was actually supposed to be last week. I think something happened. They had to reschedule it. So Costa should easily just destroy Steve Garcia, in my opinion. And the one I was going to touch on, yes. Okay, so Tatsuro Taira. I've been telling you guys about this kid since he's came into the UFC. If you guys been following back then, I've been telling you, bet this kid, bet this kid. He's nuts, right? And from Japan, he's probably he's the guy they're looking to push into the Japanese market. This is the guy UFC wants to get behind. Tatsuro Taira. He's like the next Yushin Okami or something, but the UFC keeps hiding him on the prelims. The guy's 14-0. 14 wins, 0 losses. Why is he fighting on the prelims or the early prelims? Are you serious? He's 14-0. He's fighting on the early prelims? Really? You got Jamie Malarkey, who's like 17-16, fighting on the main card. Dargi, 16 wins, 5 losses. Don't get me wrong, the records don't mean anything in a way. Sometimes, it's about who you're beating. Don't get me wrong, and who you're fighting. But at the same time, man, if you want to build the brand, they're giving him easy fights, clearly, but why is he so early on the card? Are they just trying to hide him? They don't want people betting him because they know it's just easy money, blah blah blah. I don't know, because clearly he's a huge favorite. This is very weird to me, because you want to build the kid. Why is he on the prelims, right? Clearly more people watch the main card than they do the prelims. Why are you hiding this 14-0 undefeated kid on the... That's just stupid. All right, he's taking on Carlos Hernandez. Carlos Hernandez actually just got choked out by Alan Nascimento, who's fighting in the main card against Dargi. And other than that, he's been pretty flawless. Other than his first fight in the UFC, or first fight in MMA, but other than that, he's got pretty decent wins. Not too many big names under there, but Tatsuro Taira is probably gonna destroy him, probably by submission, because Tatsuro Taira has a wicked, wicked ground game, and only 23 years old. The kid's for real. You got to put him on a parlay out. Parlaying Tyra with Song Yadong and a Khalil Rountree. Even I don't know about the Khalil one. I'm a little iffy on on Khalil's ground game there, but you know, yeah, that's not a bad parlay at all, because Yadong, Song, and Tyra, they're pretty guaranteed. I would say they're about 90% odds of winning there. So not a bad card. This is the appetizer for the main the pay per view coming up. If you guys need a place to bet, BetUS, promo code Iceman. I'll do whatever I can to get you guys as many offers, free promos as I can. I know some of you guys killing it on there, especially on that last week with Arman Tsarukyan. Man, that was outstanding. I told you guys. Yeah, good luck and stay tuned. Out.